So we're at 8 o'clock, and I want to welcome everyone who's here to the intersection. In our earlier conversation before 8, we might not, I don't know, get as many folks on this conversation. I can see where somebody might read, volunteers. Well, that's not the leading edge. And I would say precisely it is the leading edge. And it is the reason that the faith initiative through the city and Compassionate San Antonio, and we can just make the list of all the collaboratives, all of the work that we have been doing has been happening because of volunteers and very committed, highly skilled volunteers. And
Sorry,
so I know I probably don't have to give anyone presently on the screen examples of that, even because everybody on the screen are examples precisely of that. I am trying to think of what's coming up in the near future that I know about, other than just a lot of work and spring break and other things. I don't have any specific announcements of upcoming things. I'm wondering, of the 22 of us here, if anybody has things they'd like to announce in the next couple minutes. Things that are happening in Sacred. Oh, look at that. Bill has his hand up. Surprise, surprise. Go, Bill. We'll get a little music and that'll be great.
Yeah, so I apologize for the background noise, but in my temporary office this morning, the Sacred is having a user group session. And so this is a project that we plan to do quarterly, but our first installment will be March 21st. It's going to be 11:30 to 1, and it's going to be held at the Frost Conference Center in the new Frost Tower downtown. Free parking and lunch provided. So the purpose of this meeting is to engage with people that are using Sacred, individual users or professional users, people that are using Sacred as part of their job. So we'll be having a series of discussions around how people are using Sacred and how it's helping them. And if they're experiencing any challenges, or if they have come up with particular use that they think are really worth sharing. So this is we'll be doing this quarterly, and it's really intended to hear from the community and from users about how the sacred.org is helping you, and also how it's not helping you, so that we can improve it and make it better. So if you want to come, you can reach out to me, and I'll post a link in the chat. You can, if you want free parking, you have to pre-register. So, but it's easy to do, and everyone's welcome.
Thanks, Bill. And Jerry has her hand up. Yes, Jerry is back, and she has her hand up.
That's a usual sign.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that this evening at 6:30 is NAMI Bridges to Care orientation meeting. If anybody wants to learn more about NAMI Bridges to Care, I will put the information for registration in the chat. You're welcome to come just to learn about Bridges to Care, find out what's going on, what's new, and meet our NAMI Bridges to Care staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. And she's going to put that in chat. Bill, can you put something in chat too, if anybody wants to participate? And you're getting a really good turnout for that. I may just show up to listen and learn.
We have already 45 people have registered.
What?
At this point, yeah. So
that's exciting. John Wilson has his hand up. John?
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I just want to let you all know that I'm John Wilson, Veterans Mental Health Department, Texas Veterans Commission, and a couple of times each month we offer military cultural competency. We happen to have one coming up on March 10th from 1 to 2:30, and you can find this information at our website, and I can put that in the chats for y'all to take a look at and offer it to y'all free of charge, of course.
Thanks. And I think this is, John, your first time to join us.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
So
my apologies for being late to the meeting.
No, you're not late. You're right on time, and you're here. That's how it works.
Well, there's a guy named Kerry Haynes who told me about you. You know Kerry Haynes.
Yes, I know Kerry.
Who bears close watching.
Yeah, I know. It's all his fault, right? I'm just joking.
He's the best, I think.
Oh, he is. So for any other newcomers, my name is Ann Helmke, and I'm the faith liaison for the city. And at the intersection, it is precisely the intersection between faith and community and civic engagement, leadership. We're all leading, but trying to all get smart about what's going on in the world and sharing what is going on. This morning, I was talking earlier with folks that, you know, talking about volunteers might not be the edgiest, right, of conversations. We've talked about, of course, we started during COVID. We talked about and do talk about things that are critically important to our mutual leadership and our mutual work. And volunteers, that word may not sound like the edgiest part of our work, but I would tell you, and I think most people know here, that it is because of volunteers, that's our edge. That is the leading edge. And perhaps if we were to look at it differently, collectively, we might even be able to lead stronger, more effectively and efficiently, more compassionately, to both the volunteer and to those that are being served. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. It's something that we've been looking at within the city structure. Most of our, especially the larger nonprofits, but smaller, none of our nonprofits, none of our congregations, I mean, just make the list, would exist without volunteerism, right? But is there a way to do it that would be more, again, fulfilling to the volunteer, purposeful, have greater impact in where they're volunteering? I can say that I look at Bill Neely with sacred.org, and Sacred exists precisely because of highly skilled volunteerism. Precisely. And we can go through probably every collaborative that we have in the initiative and talk in that way. So I'm excited to hear from Becky Dinnin, who's here with us this morning with Catchafire and Social Venture Partners. So I'm kind of turning it over to Becky and Bill, and they're going to give us a briefing for about 10 or 15 minutes. That's how the intersection works. We try to get the meat in less than a half hour of our conversation, and then we'll go into some conversational Q&A. So Bill or Becky, it's all yours. And the screen is also open to share if you wish to do that.
Thank you, Anne. I'll go ahead and kick it off. It was great to have Bill and Billy invite me to do this, and it's good to see you again. Just hang on just a second, and I will do a quick share screen. I promise this is not death by PowerPoint, but it will help me to not forget anything at this early morning before I've had my second or third cup of coffee. Can you see my screen right now?
I cannot.
Oh, there. Okay, hang on. Got one more click. There. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you so much again for the time. I have been in nonprofit work for now more than 30 years. 18 of those was spent in faith-based work. For those of you who know me, in fact, a lot of denominational work in the Baptist area, but also had 10 years at the Chamber of Commerce. Nothing could be more important, as you said, Anne, right now than volunteer help. And it's evolved some. Social Venture Partners exists to be able to give our time and treasure to build stronger nonprofits. It means that we may give some funding. We are a giving circle and welcome everybody here to be a part of that. I do see some familiar names, some of you who know me. Beverly, it's wonderful to see you. Bill and Billy Cox and Bill Neely are partners, so they help support the work that we do at Social Venture Partners by giving their time and treasure to help nonprofits scale. This is about capacity building as much as it is about strengthening and providing teams and support to nonprofits in today's world. One of the things that we all know, if I can get my thing to work, we have learned since post-COVID is that every organization in our community, businesses, large, small, medium, hospitals, schools, are all facing a serious problem with staffing. Nonprofits are also reporting cash flow challenges because many of their grants were canceled or had to be rethought over COVID and having to reapply. Sometimes those are 2-3 year processes. This leaves us with a lot fewer staff across the board and the inability to be able to find qualified applicants and to pay for them, because getting a raise for staff for nonprofits is much, much more difficult than it might be in some other industry sectors. And we can't compete with that, right? If you have delivery services that are providing $25 an hour or even $10 an hour, many nonprofits at the level of administration can't afford that. Couldn't afford COLA raises that have been able to be matched in small businesses. Plus, the employment pool is much smaller. So that's where we go back to volunteers and go back to trying to understand what's going on in our community organizations, what's going on to help us fill the gap. These are people who are on the front lines, who are in our churches, who are in our neighborhoods, driving Meals on Wheels, who are delivering the food from their food pantries. This is nothing new to this group. I know most of you work in that space. Thank you, NAMI, for what you're doing right now in mental health awareness. Doug, I saw you yesterday on the news talking about that crisis. And a lot of that is a crisis of not being able to find qualified staff, qualified workers. It's a real crunch. So none of this is going to be new to you guys. Most have changed their services in nonprofit and then had to change back in 2022 and now 2023. That transition is continuing. A lot of people are struggling with what do we do with now our hybrid workplace. So this is a capacity problem. It's staffing challenges that we're all facing. Skills-based volunteering is not new. It's been around forever. Those of us who are in churches know, deacons have always provided, and people who are in our churches have always provided, teaching have always provided. In most cases, even every part of the church work is done through volunteers. In our communities, a lot of that, we're facing that. A lot of volunteers we're providing, but skills-based is professional skills. People who have their CPA license or have marketing backgrounds or have event planning capabilities do that work for us. But it's often they walk in the door and it's somebody that we need to be able to use to help us get our work done, to help the staff implement things and strategies that we're working on. We need technology now more than ever, technology and programmers. That's where Billy and Bill have helped us tremendously, helped us set up things. Human resources is a significant need. HR has changed, the laws have changed. It's a much more litigious environment. And so we're looking at that. So back in 2020, we were looking at that problem and asking funders to get together and talk about the capacity problem that was created during COVID and now, because we just don't have staff. We found an online tool called Catchafire. This is the catchafire.org, and put together $100,000 for us to be able to provide this to 100 nonprofits in San Antonio to use to support staff in helping to get things done. It is a capacity building tool. We consider it an HR tool, not necessarily a volunteer tool, because the mentality of volunteer and volunteer coordinator in many, especially larger nonprofits, is very different than finding a skilled volunteer to help you in your finance department or in HR. It's a different process. So we consider this an HR and an operations tool, where there are nonprofits out there that have some needs, and it's simply a portal. It's an online portal. You can go there and take a look at it right now or today. And it matches with professionals all over the world who have skills, who can do graphic design, who can do translation, who can do things like help set up QuickBooks or get things straightened, who can also do training online. And these are highly, because there are more than 250,000 volunteers active on this portal, then you can usually find a very, very good one and a quality good one for your work. We started this in October of 2020 with 100 nonprofits. Since then, we have served 156. This is our 3rd year to do it. We currently have 95 that are using it actively today. This is a report from about 3 days ago. We've invested about, with all of the 5 funders in our group, we've invested about $300,000. And these are part of our metrics. The value, this system does measure the value of the nonprofit work. It measures the time put in and what this might cost if a funder were being asked to pay for it as a consultant or contract worker. And so far, our ROI is $1.478 million in San Antonio for these nonprofits. We're thrilled about that as a funder because we see this as a way to be able to leverage funding to do operational things, to give raises. And so this number is very important to us as we kind of continue to use that. What does it look like? If you go onto the website, you're going to see this. This is help in specific areas like executive leadership. There are a lot of consultants that are available on this platform. We had a consultant for the Nonprofit Council from McKinsey Consulting sign up to help with the strategy for NPC. In marketing communications is the most commonly used area, graphic design, video editing, those types of things. This next chart shows where the nonprofits have been using it for the last year. So since March of last year, not surprising to anyone, we've had lots of different types of help posted on pre-template projects. These are projects that are already scoped out for you. These are projects that you don't have to write an RFP for. These are projects that you don't have to figure out, well, what do I need? One of the things we liked most about this tool is it kind of gives you a template to work from, and then you customize it to the nonprofit. It also works really well for the volunteer on that side to not have to write out the whole plan and the milestones and where we want to land in the 4 to 6 week project that we're working on. These are the areas that nonprofits are using it. Everything from website audits down here is very popular right now. A lot of marketing strategies, a lot of logos, visual brand identity. These are things that are expensive. I come from a background of communications and public relations, and I've paid for lots of graphic designers and agencies to do this. It's usually embedded into a lot of funding requests for grant writers, for capital campaigns, and that's a $10,000 logo and brand identity is a $10,000 ticket. I've had to pay that for organizations. It can be very expensive. But if you use a Catchafire, not a Catchafire volunteer for that, that can save that kind of money for the organization. And honestly, most nonprofits can't afford that. I worked in nonprofits that was just me. And I was the one up until midnight doing this for myself and making it up. I may not have had that skill. And that's a very difficult place to be in. I've been that person at midnight trying to figure out how to do donor relations management templates and dashboards for a board meeting next day. I've been that person. So that's another key reason I really, really like this tool is it helps people get things done and saves them some time. Even though you might sort of know how to do that, this just adds extra time to a nonprofit leader's plate so that they can focus on things like donor relationships, so that they can focus on their clients, on meeting some of those needs of their staff, on helping the staff get things done. And so this just gives them a door and a window to people who can be on their team, who can be a part of their success, who can help them. It's simple. I use this all the time. Just help you get things done, because that is where our stress point is right now. It can be overwhelming. We have found that there are specific nonprofits who see value in this the most. They are the small nonprofits. They are usually under 3 people on their staff. They are often new or founder-based and working in very small spaces. They might have an office in another organization. They might be sharing staff with other people. The most utilized group that is usually the fundraiser, the volunteer manager, the marketing person, and of course the CEOs. CEOs, sometimes we think we do. We have all the skills. I can do finance, I can do graphic design, I can do donor relations, but the truth is we can't. And so a lot of these really small groups who have 18 hats that they all wear, just need somebody to put an idea before and say, how do I organize this? And Catchafire can provide people all over the world to be able to do that. And they don't have to be necessarily in San Antonio. They can be. You can choose a volunteer from San Antonio, or you can choose a volunteer from Atlanta or Bangladesh, or I used someone in the United Kingdom for an event, and she was from American Express. So these are highly skilled people, and it's been a great resource. I wanted to share with you some stories. Celebrate Dyslexia is one of, we call it our super users. I don't know if many of you know Jasmine Dean. She is the CEO and founder of that. She is one of the people that uses it a lot. This was one project that was recently finished. It was finished on March 23rd. This is a page on the website that is an impact story. So if you're a funder, or if you're somebody who's providing this to your nonprofit, this is great data to take back to your board. They love seeing that you saved $4,200 and somebody gave you 30 hours to help you with a graphic design project. They needed somebody to help them design a brochure. This is something that's available to them 24/7 for use in their board meetings, for use giving back to donors. And we also use it as a funder to give back to those people that we partner with locally in the community to say, this is the kind of return on the investment that we can get. In order to sponsor one nonprofit for a whole year for as many projects as they want is a $1,200 investment. It's a subscription fee for 1 year for the nonprofit. And we put together the funding group to make that happen. As you can see on this one project, we doubled the ROI and the return on that investment. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for. Jasmine is very good at this. She's very often my person who shows us how to do it. This is another one, how an employee handbook was created for the Pride Center. I don't know if you know Robert. He is also a one-man shop, a two-man shop. Very important work that he does. And recently he just finished a human employee handbook. They have changed their structure a little bit and needed somebody to come in and just revise everything. And that's a $2,400 project. So Darian, this is the volunteer over here. All of this is available to Robert all day, every day, and he can use this as much as he wants. Imagine you're sitting on the board and said, you know, Robert, we changed our strategy, but the employees are different. We need you to fix that. So he was able to find someone to help him on that short-term project. Raphael Community Free Clinic up in Kerrville, in Helotes, excuse me. They have used this. This is astounding to me. People say, can you use it for a big project? Yes, this is a website project, a CMS-based website project that they needed desperately. They don't have the money for this. This is a $16,000 project. Would you have paid for it? No. We would have done it probably at home overnight with a board member, a very generous board member, to help you figure out how to get it done. This is not always money that they have. And so this is why we really like this tool. It's something that, especially that small nonprofit, can get things done. These are our local funders this year. We have had a few more come. Documation did for a while, and now they're investing in a different program for us. But these are our current funders. These are people who help us also be sure that the nonprofits we have in Catchafire are diverse, that we have a focus on equity. The African American Community Fund and LISC help us with areas that we don't typically know. They introduce us to new nonprofits that we have not met. Methodist Healthcare Ministries all have, of course, health and wellness programs. The San Antonio Area Foundation uses part of their capacity building fund to help fund this. Nancy Smith Hurd is brand new this year. They love this program. And in fact, the Hurd Foundation is sponsoring a staff person for us to manage the whole project. What we do for the nonprofits is we provide monthly updates to our funders. We do the marketing and promotion to volunteers and to the nonprofits who might want to have this. We help with selecting the nonprofits for those funders. And then we do one-on-one help. We provide workshops. I will call a nonprofit that doesn't look like they're using it yet and say, what can I do to help you get your work done? Is this a tool that we can get you registered on? I can show you how. Many of you may know Debbie Fitzenmeyer. She is our Catchafire project person. And she is working a lot right now on catching up with all the nonprofits and helping us with those reports. She is completely assigned to this project, and she is wonderful. I'm blowing through this pretty quick because I know you may have a lot of questions. This is my contact information, svpsa.org. This is my cell phone number. I'm available to talk. What I'm hoping is that we have some people here who may be interested in either being a part of the nonprofit cohort that uses this to get things done. I actually use it as a volunteer. I will volunteer my time to help nonprofits, but I also use it as an organization. I use it to help us with coaching on storytelling. I have used it for graphic design. I've used it to bounce some ideas off of some event experts for some of our events. So I have used it on both sides and can tell you what I've learned about both sides of it. And I really like the tool. It is not an all fix solution, but it does give us a very valuable tool in the community to be able to address the staffing needs and the mental health, honestly, for our staff at our nonprofits to get some work done. Many of you who are on this call may already have that. I know, NAMI, you're on our list. We have had other people help us with funding. At West Care, we've had your help over there. Beverly, thank you for your help on that. So I'm going to stop the share. Hope that I made it okay here now within my time limit. And I will turn into a Q&A.
Well, we're going to take a brief pause because it's 8:26. And you did perfectly, Becky, but we tried to get, again, the bulk of the information in before 8:30, so that those among us who might need to leave at this point, we want to thank you for being with us this morning. And we look forward to seeing you next week. We're going to be looking at San Antonio's property with a purpose. And it's directly connected with the housing, excuse me, the housing building that we're doing across the city, but specifically on congregational property, available acreage, refit of buildings not currently in use, and all that's been put together through our Housing via Faith Community Collaborative, forming a campaign entitled Property with a Purpose. So that will be next Thursday at the intersection. So again, those who might need to leave, thank you for being with us today. And we appreciate your commitment in our city. So Becky, I'm wondering, because I've been talking in collaboratives, which are almost all based, even when people are paid, they're still volunteering to be in, that collaborative, and, but talking on a broader scale about volunteers and how that could be more effective across our entire city. I'm wondering a couple of things. So when people become volunteers within Catchafire, I'm wondering, one, how they find out about it, what purpose pulls them into it, and is there what's the capacity of it? How big could this become?
Thank you, Ann. Good questions. People find out about it through things like this, word of mouth. Catchafire has a relationship with LinkedIn and uses LinkedIn. This is why there are so many people available. They use LinkedIn as a way to connect and advertise this project. So if you have a LinkedIn profile and you have mentioned that you volunteer, you will probably begin to show up in algorithms that Catchafire will post volunteer positions. There's a whole division in that area. So this is they have that partnership with LinkedIn. It also helps, when you're setting up a profile and for a volunteer, you have to put in all the stuff, especially a skilled volunteer. You don't have to redo that. You can just link it to your LinkedIn profile. It was really smart of them to do this 12 years ago when they set it up. So it can automatically show what your background is, what your work experience is. The choice for which volunteer to choose is up to the nonprofit. The tool does not match for them. the nonprofit actually can pick the volunteer that's best for them, that meets their culture best, that so the nonprofit is in charge. That's why we call it an HR tool. It is actually looks like a hiring process. You can interview as many as you want for a project, and then pick the one that most suits your needs and what project that you're working on. It does not cost anything to be a volunteer on Catchafire. So you can just go to catchafire.org. That is the volunteer facing page. So it's just catchafire.org. The local nonprofit link is svpsa.catchafire.org. So if you're a nonprofit, you go to that. If you go to as a volunteer, then it's just catchafire.org. So that's how they found out about it. I think that this tool, it's not the only one. There are some companies who use one called Taproot. And that one's, I think, is the second largest one. But, and then there are some that are just built into organizational, like a lot of HR leaders have their own system built in. But I think the volunteer aspect of using your skills is something that has been needed and very popular, especially for people in the younger generations. And the retired population. It's interesting, it's a split. So people who are now, I don't want to be on a board, but I would like to be able to help out a nonprofit. And I've been a CPA for 45 years. And nonprofits desperately need people to help them figure that out. That's an area that's a huge need. People who are good at event planning, people who are good at even strategy and talking through ideas. I think, I have no idea what the capacity is. Right now, I think there were 1.5 million people that are listed as volunteers on Catchafire. There are about 300,000 that are active. So it depends on the projects that kind of come their way.
So is Catchafire San Antonio specific, or it's larger than that?
Catchafire has been around for 13 years, and it's international. The software company is actually based in New York and was created by a woman who worked at a nonprofit, but who had software skills. And the entire team are all people with nonprofit backgrounds, and they serve as a help desk. They can also do, there's 150 videos that are training videos on how to do operational things. And then people who are at the help desk all day, every day also have nonprofit experience. I don't work for them. We get, it's interesting. I really like the tool. I think they did it right. I hope that they stay around for a while. I'm worried, one day that somebody will snatch them up as a buyer and make it public or something. But right now, the tool is really a wonderful gift, and I use it on both sides and appreciate that it gives me what it does.
I see that Kendra has her hand up. Kendra, do you have a thought and question?
Yes, I do. Give me 1 second. I actually have a couple to say. Okay, first of all, what an awesome program, and I can totally see would come into play on helping y'all fund that. But I want to say also that I think that Ann can vouch for this, Bill Neely can vouch for this, that there is a program that's funded by the government that does promote volunteerism by giving a stipend to volunteers from a pool of people that are managed by a program manager for AmeriCorps, that really brings a lot of talent to the table. You do have to pay a small fee for that person, which is about $15,000, and follow program guidelines, but you're supported by a nationally recognized platform for bringing in innovative new talent with lived experience that might actually be passed over for opportunities like that, which is how I came into this position. What I am a community worker on the east side based out of the Ella Austin Community Center for my second year with West Care, Texas. And Sacred was born out of a city initiative for City Year, right, Ann?
It was AmeriCorps Vista.
AmeriCorps Vista. So I highly recommend that people look into that. And also, if you're looking to pay your community workers, if you look into the Department of Justice, there's community violence intervention strategies now that include cleaning and greening, that include paying community workers through Medicaid, that include education. So there's a lot of branches in these community violence intervention strategies that you can look up different grants that you might actually be falling into some of those categories. That's just a little bit of information if somebody wants to take it. But maybe you guys should talk to AmeriCorps one of these days, Anne. And that's all I have to say. And what you do is amazing, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendra. Oh, yeah, I've been talking to AmeriCorps for several years, and up to the pandemic, the city had AmeriCorps Vistas, but at the pandemic, that was one of the things that is no longer happening within the city structure. But I do know it's under conversation, and it's very important. I'm just, of course, sitting here trying to merge things together as we do in our collaboratives here, because we're also looking at something San Antonio specific, where, yeah, I don't know, where we can pull from a skilled set of volunteers that are rapidly also available, both daily and in emergency ways, where people have purpose. And, you know, so I'm trying to make sense of this in my head. So I'm rambling out loud like I'm known to do in collaborative work. But thanks to Beverly, she's raised her hand and I can keep rambling in my head. So Beverly, your thoughts? You're muted. She's just going to keep talking. I'm going to see if I can help her out.
I'm sorry. There we go. There we go.
There you go.
Becky, I was just going to say, from the day that I have met you, you have been inspiring from day one. So you have done so much for so many others. Let me ask this question. What is it that you need that we can possibly do for you? What do you need to be helpful?
Thank you, Beverly. And I would say the same thing about you. You've always, every conversation I have with Beverly is one of those, ooh, I have so many ideas. You know, we at Social Venture Partners, we use, we love this tool. We are always looking for funding and to be able to include more. Our timeline and our cycle is annual, and we launch every October and November a new class, if you will. And so I spend this part of the year really talking to funders, giving this presentation to see how many more nonprofits I can get into the next class. We currently have about 10 slots that are open, that are unfilled. And yes, a nonprofit can pay their own fee, and some do. It's not always the case. But that $1,200, you can go on to our website, or you can just email me and I can send you to the portal where if a nonprofit says, you know what, I need this help, it's only $1,200 a year, I can put you on the list today. Or if you have a funder that wants to do that, or if you have 3 that you want to put on from your church or whatever. So, and what we do is, and then you go through that process, but most of the time it makes sense to put in the portfolio from a funder. That's what HERD did. That's what MHM does. And so we fill up those spots. In November, what I'd like to do, my goal this year is to get that number to at least 200 nonprofits. And that means I need to add potentially 4 new funders who can put in between $15,000 and $25,000 to get another 15, 25 nonprofits onto this system. The reason that number is 200 is there's a magic thing that happens. You know how it is with software, is that the cost per nonprofit goes down and we can invest more and we can have a higher number. If I have $200,000 to be able to support nonprofits in San Antonio and get that number up, then I can go up to 150 nonprofits, to 250 nonprofits instead of 100 at a time. So it's, you know how it is. The software and the support mechanism and the customer service is something that we invest in. But as you see, our ROI is 4.5 times what we put into it. So funders usually like that. They like that math. And now that we have a full-time person working nonstop with nonprofits, we have seen that ROI. We we get back $50,000 a month in value from this since our last launch. $50,000 in value for the community. It's not $50,000 we can reinvest necessarily, but it is usually money that the nonprofit doesn't have. It's a mental health issue. So yeah, if you want to talk to me, and I'm glad to come to your office and share this presentation with a group of funders. If you're a collective giving, if you have people who want to pull that money together, I'd love to show this tool to you. Also want to engage everyone on the call to be a volunteer. All of you, even at nonprofits, you're great volunteers for other nonprofits. You have experience and you have gifts, and you can do something as easy as a 1-hour call. Look at using this as a volunteer to see how you might be able to help a nonprofit in San Antonio or anywhere. I've talked to nonprofits in Arizona and Minneapolis and San Antonio, and have loved every hour I've spent as a volunteer on this.
This is really an amazing platform. I'd also be interested, out of sheer curiosity, who all are on that nonprofit list, who's all utilizing it, but that's just curiosity question.
No, I'm glad to share that. And I'll tell you what, I can send that list to you. It changes sometimes because I've actually had a funder from Corpus Christi steal one of my nonprofits, which is fine. Then it opens up a new slot for me. But that I think we just updated the list in the last 2 days, and let me see if I can get that over to you.
I think we have Beverly. Do you still have a question?
Lots of the group here are already on that. If you don't know if you have it or not, let me know.
We probably have time for one more question or closing thought at 8:42. Anyone out there?
How do we reach you, Becky?
Currently, I can't hear Becky very well. You're not muted. It doesn't sound like it.
Here at svpsa.org, I'll put this in the chat.
Okay.
I put it in the chat, Becky.
Thank you.
So thank you all. This was
I'm putting my email
good
in the chat. Oh, thank you, Bill.
There we go. Well,
That's
thank
how
you
can
all.
reach me.
This was really informative. Bill and Billy have been telling me about this, and anyway, for a while, and so I should have been listening earlier. Because I also know some nonprofits that probably aren't on the list who could benefit from it. So thank you so much, Becky and Billy and Bill, for bringing this to everyone's attention. Next week, again, we're going to be looking at housing via the faith community and what that is, what's happening there in the city, and specifically in terms of their campaign Property with a Purpose. So I will see you next Thursday, and I hope that you all have beautiful weekends, and have a good one. Thanks for meeting with us at the intersection today.